week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is The Magic Mike Show, episode 285. Mr. Summit, how you doing today?
I am doing well, Magic. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I've been saving that helium balloon for my birthday for a week and a half so I could do that opening bit. And I'm going to say well worth it.
Voice. That was an actual helium balloon?
That was an actual helium balloon.
Oh, snap. Look at you.
I wish I could change my voice like that. No. It only squeaks up like that when I'm like in really serious moments and then my voice breaks like I'm still going through puberty.
That's always good.
How you doing today?
Oh, we're doing good, man. It's been a fun afternoon of sports, which is kind of nice. I'm like all about these afternoon sports games, and we're going to talk about that. My best thing you saw coming up shortly. Looking forward to tonight. You got the Stanley Cup playoffs kicking off, and my adopted Phoenix Suns. I'm adopting them in the NBA. Try and close out your adopted Los Angeles Clippers because no team you root for is actually a team you root for. They're all adopted to get to the NBA Finals. So hopefully the Suns can close it out. And I'm not sure who I'm going to root for in the Stanley Cup Finals yet, but we'll figure it out.
God, the Clippers. They just. I don't even care if they win the title. They just let them make the finals just once. It's just annoying. It's like the Lions. Just let them get to the Super Bowl. Beat them 45-0. Just let them go once, please.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Kawhi is already in like Cancun or Cabo or something. He's just like, yeah, I'm done with this.
He's already peaced out. Yeah, well, let's talk about Stanley Cup Finals. I'm excited about it. The finish for the Canadiens over Las Vegas, that overtime thriller was amazing. The Tampa New York Islanders Game 7 was 1-0, and it seemed like Tampa for the longest time was going to win that. And then in New York, every once in a while, they remind you that we're here in Game 7 for a reason. So that's pretty exciting. I told you and Aaron from the start, if it couldn't be the Blues that won the Cup this year, I wanted to see whoever came out of the Canada division, because I think if the Cup can't be in Detroit, it should belong in Canada. Like, it's either Detroit or Canada is where the Stanley Cup belongs each year. So I'm fully on board the Montreal Canadiens.
I would be wild if Carey Price can get one. I mean, because this is just, they would be stealing this, right? Came from the weakest division, had to, really got fortunate to have to just beat Las Vegas and not have to play it through a bunch of different difficult series. I'm sorry, Toronto and I think it was Edmonton or whoever the heck they beat. They're not that good. But this is going to be an awesome series. So I'm excited. And the Canadians have been playing out of their mind. I mean, they've been playing wonderful at plus $200 almost every single game. So it's been fun to see them make this run, especially when they're not really playing in front of as many fans as you're seeing in the U.S. I mean, it's going to be rocking tonight in Tampa. So it'll be a fun start to the series. And I love the Stanley Cup Finals, man.
Yeah, and I set up reminders so I could remember to tune in and watch them because I kept getting mad. I would hear to see the replays, all these great moments in the playoffs. Like, God, I keep forgetting to watch. So I've got, now that it's just one series to focus on, it's very easy to set those reminders and do it. So if you were a betting man, would you be going for the Tampa Bay Lightning to repeat? I know the Stanley Cup champs last year.
I would take the plus money with Montreal. I think they're just playing better right now, and you got a couple injury issues on Tampa that I'm a little concerned about. So I would take the plus money and take a little bit of a swing. But I mean, I'm always taking underdogs, so that's kind of my style, right? That's
true. I'm going with Canadian just because of my heart. So take that what you will. I think it probably means Tampa's going to win in 5. It's going to be a fun show. We're going to be looking back at what we learned at Churchill Downs over the weekend. They had their closing day on Saturday. We did our pick 4 tickets, so we can kind of talk a little bit about the good and the bad that we did with those races too. But we're going to I did this with Aaron a couple weeks ago when you were on vacation, one burning question for several of the races here. So a little bit different way to toss up how we discuss the races and what we look forward to kind of moving forward out of the races. So I got plenty of questions for that. But before we get into it, I want to hear about this best thing that you saw today or are currently seeing.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. It's soccer, which I'm not even a huge soccer fan, but like I said, I love having these afternoon sports. And these 2 Euro games have been absolutely insane. You're going to see me like looking up as I go through this here. It was so both teams. So Spain was up 3-1 late in the first game. They were the team that they were playing, Croatia, was plus 595 in the game. Before the game, not live betting, before the game. So down 3-1, 10 minutes left in the game. They score twice. They force extra time, and they lose 5-3. 5-3 in a freaking soccer game. So crazy. And then the afternoon game, you have France, who's a heavy favorite over Sweden or over Switzerland. and Switzerland goes up 1-0, then gets a penalty. They're taking a penalty shot to go up 2-0. The France goalie makes a save. They score twice in 7 minutes. France does after that to go up 2-1, tack another one on to go up 3-1. There's 10 minutes left. The announcers are already talking about France, Spain facing off next game. And all of a sudden, bang, bang, Switzerland gets 2 of them. And France hits the post with the last shot in regulation. So we go to extra time. We're now in penalty kicks. I mean, it's been exciting soccer. I've actually gasped watching soccer, which I think may be the first time it's ever happened. So these 2 games have been absolutely awesome. The soccer is boring crowd's taking the L today. Not going to lie.
Hey, I know this isn't the World Cup, the Euro Cup's a little different, but I always enjoy the World Cup every 4 years when that shows up. So that's always a great time. I get heavily invested. I always love the Netherlands team. They always find a way to I get really mad at them like once every 4 years, which is a really weird relationship. But yeah, I've got it pulled up here too. So it looks like they're 2-2. At least the feed that I've got, they're 2-2 right now.
Yeah, I don't think anyone missed you. I think it's 3-2 Switzerland right now.
Yeah, I just saw that. Yeah, I was going to ask if the white jerseys were if France was.
So it's crazy. It's one of those like penalty kicks are one of the biggest like sweated out things in sports because you feel like every one should go in. Like every single one should be made. And in this tournament, I think like 7 or 8 of them have already been stopped. Wow. I think the goalie is 7 for 9 in-game PKs in the tournament, which is absolutely nutty, unless it's Cristiano Ronaldo taking it. And I think he's like 3 for 3 or something. But it's been absolutely wild throughout the entire tournament. So it's been a lot of fun to watch. And I'm with you. I don't really follow the Premier League. I don't follow MLS. I get like international soccer can get me going a little bit, the nationalism, Yeah. But the sides and all that jazz can't get into it. Too many games, not enough goals. But these 2 have been fun, man. I'll be watching them over the weekend too.
2006, it was the first time I ever went to Europe. I went with my French, 3-3. I went with my French class right after graduating high school. And that summer was when it was, who was hosting it that year? Was France hosting it? I can't remember who was hosting it in 2006, but we went to 4 different countries. Each time we were in a country, their team happened to be playing that night. And thank God, every time they played, they won. I was trying to explain to some of my classmates, I was like, you don't understand how bad this could be for us to be out at night if this country loses. We were in Switzerland. We weren't worried about it at all. They were happy drunk no matter what was going to happen. But when we were in France, we were in Italy. I was like, we got to be really careful to hope that they don't lose while we're out here. 2010, I was working on an island resort in northern Michigan, and I had the day off. And so the local bar knew me really well. So I went down there at 10 a.m., had breakfast, had a few beers, watched the first 2 matches that they had on that day, had lunch. Told the bartender, they're like packed in their packed house. I told the bartender, I was like, save my spot. I got to go do laundry. I'll be back in an hour. Saves my spot at the bar. I come back. I have a bunch more drinks, have dinner, watch the last 2 matches of the day. One of my favorite days of probably that whole summer. It was a very expensive day from a bar tab perspective, but that was a lot of fun. That's probably my 2 favorite memories from the World Cup.
Jenna and I were in Lucerne, Switzerland, when Germany beat Brazil like 9-1 in the World Cup semifinals. And Switzerland's like, there's a lot of Germans in Switzerland, right? Like just a little bit. So the city was absolutely nuts. Like I thought they were going to burn the place down. And we were out at the bar until like 3 a.m. that day. It was a blast. It was so much fun. So it was fun to be involved there. It's now 4-4 with 2 PKs left. So anyway, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more soccer here once the thing resolves itself. Magic, what was the best thing you saw today?
Lucerne is also the bird we were at in Switzerland. Love that city. Best thing that I saw was yesterday at Los Al. I was talking to Aaron about it. He just joined in the background there. Race 4 during the daily thoroughbred meet. I don't know if you saw this. It was a 2-year-old, I think Calbred, definitely maidens, going 5 furlongs. The horse on the very far outside broke quick, kept lugging in, and then when the jockey tried really hard to correct him, bolted straight into the rail, took the rail horse with him. Did you see this?
No.
They crashed through the rail. The horse that was on the outside ducks under it. And you remember at Los Al, they've got that turn that's kind of in the middle when it's nighttime. Okay.
Yeah, the quarter horse rail.
Yeah, he found that turn. He makes his way through the turn, ducks under the next rail that protects the horses that are trying to come so they don't duck in when they're on the normal stretch, and crosses the wire, gets corralled. Both horses completely okay. Like they got some cuts, they got some scrapes. Perfectly okay. Both the jockeys, Trevor McCarthy and Alexis Santino, were okay as well. They both got released from the hospital. But it was one of those things when you watch it live, it was scary as shit. Like, and it's a horse. You watch a horse racing long enough, you're like, that's not going to be good. Like the announcer Michael Ronan was talking about the horse that caused all the problems. He was like, well, he's in the infield. Well, now he's on the far turn and it's not on screen. never mentions the other one. So it's a little tenuous. So hearing that they were all 4 lives involved with that were okay. And then it led to a 35-1 beating a 25-1 because the favorite was one of the horses that got taken out. So it turned into an extremely high exacta. So everybody's okay. And I'm sure a few people made some really nice money on that exacta.
Yeah, you've seen some interesting things at those tracks. I mean, like, I remember was it Mountaineer, or was it, I'm sure it might have been Prairie Meadows, where the horse just took off and walked right back to the barn, up like 6 going into the turn. It's like, nope, I'm done with this. I don't want to finish the race. Did it twice. Now they won't let him run at the track. Obviously, Los Al, you got that secondary rail, and so you got some funky things that happen there. So it's fun when you get to see those things, as long as everyone's okay. I mean, one of the best ones is the Gulfstream, where the horse just is up 6 lengths down the stretch, and you literally have I can't remember his name right now. The announcers say, and no antics, and then he goes right through the rail. It starts Scott Van Pelt's losers or bad beats section. So that's a blast too. Yeah, we just had France just missed the PK. So Switzerland was like plus 595 or something, and this one as well to get through goes through and beats them in penalty kicks. And Mbappe, who was like supposed to be the best young player in the world, is the one who got stopped.
I was going to say, I know that name. I know Mbappe, and for him to be the one to miss the kick, that's going to be interesting. Wow. All right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed all of the soccer talk. It was perfect timing. We can get into today's show. We're looking back at what we learned at Churchill Downs closing day on Saturday, June 26th, including covering the Pick 4 tickets that Mike and I put together in last Thursday's show. Let's get into it, Mike. Riders up. All right, Mike, first thing we're going to look at, let's take a look at the Grade 2 $300,000 Fleur-de-Lis Stakes at Churchill Downs. This is race 5. This is a Breeders' Cup win-in. You're in for the Distaff, and Latruska, the heavy 3-5 favorite at post time, runs away with this. Couldn't really been much easier for her. Wins by almost 6 lengths. This is her second straight Breeders' Cup win-in. You're in victory. She took the Ogden Phipps just 3 weeks ago. Aaron was talking about on Friday's Rocket Hour with Ricky about Latruska and how it was just 3 weeks return for her, but the trainer had said that she was training way too well to just sit on her, and so he threw her in here. Nice little extra $184,000 payday, another Grade 1 win for her belt. So, Mike, my question for you out of this, will Latruska beat the boys this year?
I define the boys. Are we talking about the Breeders' Cup Classic, or are we talking about a race prior to that?
Well, so the trainer had said that he hinted very strongly that this was something he wanted to do because now he has Horse of the Year honors on his mind. So I'm not going to necessarily think it's the Classic. I think Come On the Quarter, she's shown before, might be a little too much for her, but at least in America. But I would say maybe not necessarily the Whitney, or the Woodward somewhere farther down the line, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, she is 100% capable of beating the boys. Let's put it that way. This is a horse who's just getting better and better, loves to win. I think we're like, 15 for 20 lifetime, something crazy like that now. Yeah. The horse has tactical speed, obviously does very well on the lead, but it doesn't necessarily have to be on the lead to still be effective, but definitely does her best running on the lead. She kind of dug in the Apple Blossom, was passed by Monomoy Girl, and then re-rallied on her. But look, we talked about Monomoy Girl being one of the elite horses. It's not like Latruska's not beating anyone. I think that's one of the biggest arguments for her during this stretch. I mean, she's taken on She Dares the Devil. She's taken on Monomoy Girl. She's taken on Point of Honor, obviously, in this race. Serengeti Empress multiple times. I mean, it's been the best of the filly division. It's not like she's out there dodging any horses. She's gone from track to track and taken on horse after horse after horse, and she's consistently put those fillies and mares away. I think, she can definitely beat them, and I think it depends on the race setup. I mean, obviously, the less speed, the better for her, but she's putting up 100 buyers consistently now. She's run 102, 103, 103 here. And she just seems to be at the top of her game right now. And so I don't see any reason why she couldn't, especially when we're talking. Obviously, there's a couple horses where I think it'd be an awfully big problem, right? You maybe don't run into Mystic Guide right now, and maybe a couple others that you try and avoid. But the majority of the boys, she's probably the 3rd or 4th best horse in training, somewhere in that range.
At least on dirt, yeah. I definitely
2 turns on dirt, older,
yeah. She's an interesting one. I'd love to see her try it. We had last year we had Swiss Skydiver win the Preakness, and she had gone into the Bluegrass Stakes earlier, so she faced the boys twice. I love it when this happens. If you get a really just superstar, seemingly mare like this, there was talk that Monomoy Girl may take on the boys at one point this year. That was before she had her injury and, of course, losing to Latruska. So that's probably not in the cards anymore for her, but that was another horse that they were considering throwing to the boys. I'm with you. I think that if she gets the right field, and we're talking not the Whitney, not the Breeders' Cup Classic, I think she's got a really good chance. I think mile and an eighth in America on dirt, I think that's going to be her limit, though.
Who does she need to beat to win Horse of the Year? I mean, because that's got to be, because you got to think, if the winner of the Whitney, let's say Mystic Guide or let's say Maxfield or Happy Saver goes on to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, or you have one of the 3-year-olds that did well in the Triple Crown Series go on to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, does she win Horse of the Year over them if she doesn't beat any of them?
I think you've got to beat somebody that's considered an elite, elite male. So
you got to take out Happy Saver, you got to take out Mystic Guide, you got to take out Maxfield, you got to take out Idol, you got to take out Essential Quality. So one of those, right?
Well, she can beat Idol. If she's not going a mile and a quarter, she can beat Idol. That wouldn't be too hard for her. She's too fast.
Yeah.
Idol likes to sit way too far back, idling in the back there. So
I see what you did there.
It's an interesting question, though. Let's move on to another race, Mike, the one that kicked off the late pick 5 sequence. This is going to be the Debutante Stakes. This is the first stakes race at Churchill Downs for fillies on the dirt, 2-year-old fillies. Behave Virginia gets the job done here and was 4-1, so the third choice. From a betting perspective, wasn't considered a big upset. From what I understand, I didn't bet this race. Completely screwed up everybody in the Racing Dudes team who was betting and had this race in there. They didn't like this horse necessarily, but she gets the job done over the 7-5 favorite on the 1s and 2s with jockey Florent Giroux, who's going to come up a little bit later. But Mike, after this race, Kenny McPeak immediately says, we're skipping the summer. We're going to take it off. We're going to target the Pocahontas back at Churchill in September. The Alcibiades Stakes at Keeneland, because those are winning your ins for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. He thinks this is a Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies winner. My burning question for you on the debutante, is that the right move for Behave Virginia to skip racing in the summer and train up and aim for those Breeders' Cup prep races?
It depends how many times you run before the Breeders' Cup. I think you probably have to run twice, and you want that to be the third in a cycle, and then I'm not going to knock it, right? Because I think that you make sure the horse is fit enough in enough situations. Look, this is a really tough horse to get to in my mind because she ran over a wet, fast track first time out, was on the lead, but clearly not the fastest horse in this field. She had a very high wet Tomlinson rating, which meant that she should run well over that track and like that track. 7-1 in a shorter field. I mean, to me, it was just a tough horse to get to, especially when you had a nice horse from Asmussen here in the 1, Wicked Halo. They actually had 2 in this field, but I preferred the 1 over the 3. And then you also had on the 1s and 2s, who Giroux was riding and was on the other, or had beaten the other Asmussen to plenty. So I thought Behave Virginia was tough to get to. Now, this was a really professional effort. I mean, when we talked about professional efforts in 2-year-olds, that we'll talk about that more in the next race as well. I mean, she showed everything you'd want her to show. I'm not really sure how good she is, and I don't really trust Kenny McPeak when he tells me that she's going to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. So I think you got to have at least 2 races in her so she gets in more situations. I mean, she still hasn't gone 2 turns, right? I mean, that's a major issue. So, I want to see her go 2 turns twice before I even put her in contention at that level.
I'm trying to remember if the Pocahontas is that a 1-turn mile or is that a mile in the 16th? I can't remember if that's 2 turns or not. I know the Alcibiades is a 2-turn race. McPeak had both Crazy Beautiful and Simply Ravishing in last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. He thought he had a pretty good chance to win with one of those. Maybe with a better break, Simply Ravishing gets the job done. But this was an interesting race just because I wouldn't have gotten to her either Unified. Her sire is a freshman sire. She remains the only child of Unified to win a race yet this year. So limited sample size, but usually if you have a stallion that's going to put out early winners, it's not, late June with a dozen or so starts, and then you've only got one horse doing the winning for you. So an interesting one there. I'm with you. I couldn't get. Aaron says that the Pocahontas is 2 turns. Thanks. I was thinking that, but I couldn't remember. So if she does do the path that McPeak is thinking, Pocahontas Alcibiades, it's going to fulfill what Mike wants to see, which is 2 attempts at 2 turns and also 2 starts hitting the third start of the form cycle, which I think is going to be pretty critical for her. Let's move on to the race that kicked off the pick 4 sequence here, Mike. The Bashford Manor Stakes, grade 3 for 2-year-old boys, and actually 1 filly in here, also going 6 furlongs on the dirt. For a split second, I really thought that big the big price that I had on Knocker Down at 56-1. First, I was like, hey, that's looking kind of good with my all button. Well, it didn't pan out so much. 4-1 winner, Double Thunder, which was one of two must uses that I had and that you had as well in this race. Talk about a Double Thunder winning this race. And also, my one burning question, was his last to first victory impressive, or did he just pass a bunch of stumble-bunnies?
I mean, I think it's a little of both. Look, this is kind of crazy. So the internal fractions for this race were a little nutty. The slowest either of these 2-year-old races, the slowest opening quarter by any horse was 22-3, which is what Double Thunder ran. 22-3 was the slowest opening quarter by any horse in either of the 2-year-old 6 furlong races. That's actually not that slow. I mean, that's decently fast. And so you had a lot of horses going quickly up front. That's what set up this last to first ride. But I was really impressed, and we talked about how, with these 2-year-olds, you're, and this sounds really simple, but you're either looking for the fastest one that won't stop, or you're looking for the one that's professional that can come from off the pace, because all of them have speed. And we saw in this race, all of them had speed. And the horse that had come from off the pace in his previous start to win was able to do the same thing here and look good doing it. I mean, this was racehorse time. I mean, he went 22-3, and then the next internal quarter, he went under 24 seconds. He ran 23-3, and he came home in 12-4, which isn't the fastest final furlong, but no one else came home faster than 13-3. So he was hustling down the lane compared to what everyone else did, and he ran a fast first quarter as well. So to me, I was impressed with this. We'll see what the plan is here. The buyer ends up coming back at 64, which doesn't exactly blow you away. So you're going to have some improvement if you want to be competitive in the larger stakes races later in the year.
Just to clarify, the fractional times you were talking about, those weren't the official race times that the leader was setting. That's what he himself was running each step of the way. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. Yeah, that was his internal fraction times.
Okay. I was going to say, they went 21 flat on the lead out of the gate, which is partly why I was like, well, maybe it was a stumble bunny because Lansdowne and Tapped Off were the first two up there. They finished 8th and 10th in this race. So I'm glad you clarified that. Double Thunder wasn't supposed to be that far back. Velasquez said he broke slowly and just kind of had to play off the break. That's why he's a Hall of Fame jockey. He played off the break, saved a bunch of ground. The horse I thought was very professional to improve as he did and to weave around horses after saving the ground. So I think that usually I don't love the Bashford Manor winner when we're talking about the Grade 1 hopeful later in the year. But I think this horse showed some professionalism. And I want to tip a cap to you because something that you mentioned on the Magic Mike show about why this horse was your top pick in the race is that at Monmouth Park, where they don't use whips, you liked that this horse showed the ability to pass horses and pull away from them despite not having that. And you saw now he's going to be able to use the whip on the horse. It should only improve him. So tip of the cap to you for getting that one correct.
Yeah, 1-for-1 on the Monmouth shippers. We'll see if that can stick it out throughout the summer. I'm not overly confident, but we'll hopefully can do it. Monmouth was absolutely nuts this week. It was just bomb after bomb there. It's just absolutely crazy.
We'll move on to the next leg of the pick 4 sequence, and this one really pissed me off. Something awful. This is the Grade 2 Wise Dan Stakes, $300,000 purse. Older males going to mile 16th on the turf course, and the reason it pissed me off is because I looked at this, Mike, and you and I both did, and we said a lot of people did. Somelikeithotbrown looks like he's pretty much lone speed on paper, and I was like, I wanted to hit the all button in the first one, and I want to go a little deeper in the last leg. I'm going to go single him here. I think this is the right time to try and single. This is the correct spot to try and single him. He's exiting a really nice win in the Dinner Party Stakes. You know what the problem is with Somelikeithotbrown? Son of a bitch can't ever win 2 races in a row, it seems. So my question for you, my one burning question from the Wise Dan, will Somelikeithotbrown ever win 2 in a row again? He did it early in his 3-year-old season. But my point from a handicapping perspective is, if he wins a race, should you automatically consider maybe fade him a little bit in the next start?
No, you shouldn't. The only reason he lost this race is because Florent Geroux, who I know Aaron thinks is the best jockey in the world, made a wonderful move weaving through horses and cutting up the rail. Look, he didn't get the job done, but he got beat here. I'll give him credit in that sense, where he put every other horse away on this front end, and Set Piece just ran a monster race. And when you looked at it, these were the 2 logical horses. I mean, these were, again, the 2 must-uses for me, the 1 and the 3. And they made the most sense in this race. You had a horse that was lone speed, and then you had what I believe was the best horse in the race, Set Piece, but was at a pace disadvantage. He was able to get past that pace disadvantage with what was a pretty good weaving ride here. I mean, there could have been trouble at a lot of different points. Mm-hmm. Luckily, Florent Geroux did not ever run into that trouble. But this horse was able to get up in the final furlong, and you kind of knew it was over once he made it out of the pack, and he was the one charging up at Somelikeithotbrown, even though Somelikeithotbrown had those softer fractions early.
Yeah, no, I did. I think about the eighth pole. At the eighth pole, my heart just fell. I was like,
Yeah.
God damn it. And because part of it, I even said it on the show, I have not been on the hate flow campaign that seems to have emerged in the past week. But I have one burning bonus question for you. Who was the more frustrating jockey in the past 7 days, Florent Geroux or Joel Rosario? And the reason to bring that up is because out of nowhere, Joel Rosario decides to have a masterclass ride on Zagel to upset the Mother Goose Stakes. Nobody knows where the hell that came from. There was like a 35, not that high, like 20, 25 buyer improvement career best. Yeah, who was the more frustrating jockey in the past 7 days here?
I mean, this isn't even close. It's Joel Rosario. I mean, he might have put in one of the best rides of the entire year Sunday at Belmont on Beautiful Lover. And he has put in some of the worst rides I've seen and cannot win on a 2-year-old period right now because he can't get any of them out of the gate. And so it is wild to see the just juxtaposition of it. Florent Geroux, I mean, it's crazy that Joel Rosario is 4th in the jockey standings at Saratoga with the quality of mounts that he gets day in and, or I'm sorry, at Belmont with the quality of mounts that he gets day in and day out. Like it's mind blowing to me that he is in 4th in that. When you saw Irad Ortiz miss 2 weeks and he still wasn't able to make up any ground. I mean, so when you look at quality of mount versus result, it's definitely Joel. And the problem is, sometimes he just puts in that perfect ride, and that's what's so frustrating. If he was consistently just not that good, then you're like, oh, okay, cool. We can just fade him for the most part. Horse has to be much the best. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you see these just masterful rides, and that's why people point to him and say, oh, he's one of the best jockeys in the world. And you know what? He is, if you're just looking at a small sample size. But when you expand it out, you're like, it's one of the most frustrating jockeys in the world. I think you at least get a consistent effort from Flo. He makes some questionable decisions, but he makes the questionable decision every time. So you don't have to worry about it, and then sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Joel Rosario just makes some head scratchers sometimes. And that's what absolutely kills me, because then the best Joel ride is better than the best Florent ride by a lot. And then the worst Joel ride is so much worse than the worst Florent ride by a lot. And that's why he is so frustrating to me. That's why he's nicknamed the Bell Curve. We could call Florent Geroux Bell Curve Light, but Curve de Bell or something like that if you want to make it French. I mean, we could figure this out.
The French curve. I
Yeah.
like it. All right, let's move on to the main race of the entire weekend of closing day at Churchill Downs, the Grade 2 $600,000 Stephen Foster Stakes. This is a Breeders' Cup winning year for the Classic. 9 males going a mile and an eighth on the main track here. Maxfield, his big return at 2-5, the favorite. Boy, this was a very impressive effort from this horse, and what I think this is exactly what he was supposed to do if he's any good. The one burning question for the Stephen Foster: has Mike Somich finally become a believer in Maxfield?
No, but I will say this. That was the most visually impressed I've ever been by Maxfield. His move around the turn was very, very, very good.
Pretty damn cool.
I mean, he made those horses look like they were standing still. Like for a moment there, I'm like, oh, I'm going to look good here. This Forest Sprawl is going to pull away. We're going to be good to go. And then you started seeing him move, and I'm like, nope, he's going to win by 5. Like, this is over. Look, he still hasn't beaten anything. And I know some people mentioned on Twitter, like, hey, you picked him against a bad field. I think this was probably the best field he's faced this year. That's saying a lot because this field isn't that good. I don't believe in Maxfield until I see him beat Happy Saver, until I see him beat Mystic Guide, until I see him beat some of the bigger horses in this older group. I mean, let's not forget last time we saw this horse, he was getting smoked by Idol. Okay? Like, let's not forget that. So it's one of those things where, looking back, and I said this on the podcast, and I'll reiterate it again here, I think the right play in the pick 4 was to single Maxfield on a $5 ticket, a short ticket, or to throw him out in the pick 4. One of those two things. I think that spreading in this race and using Maxfield long-term is going to cost you money, especially, and this was the key for me. I like the 1 and the 3 in the previous race. What were their odds? 2-1 and 8-5.
Yep.
The first race, I like the 8 and the 9. They were 4-1 and 7-2. If I go 4-1 or 7-2 with 9-5 and 2-1, and then I have Maxfield 4 deep, and I'm playing 3 logical horses in the last leg, I'm going to lose money if I hit the pick 4. And so when I look at it that way, and then when you look at the implied odds you saw in the multi-race bets, so in the cross-country pick 5, he was 1-11, which is a 92% implied win rate, 91 to 92% implied win rate. In the pick 3s and the doubles, he was close to 1-10, which is a 90% implied win rate. I can't swallow him at that price in a pick 4 where I'm playing logical horses in the other spots. Now, in the pick 6, I ended up using him, and I did spread a little bit. The reason for that, I liked a couple 20-to-1s in other spots. I was spreading in other places that I didn't want Maxfield to knock me out because I felt I could create value in other spots. So that's why I would use him in like those larger sequences, especially if you like prices. But in this pick 4 sequence, I think you had to take a stand for or against. I don't think you could really kind of do a little bit of both.
One thing that another tip of the cap I want to give you is I had asked you, I said, if I really like Somelikeithotbrown as a single, and I really like Maxfield here, potentially want to single him. I used him. I went too deep with Visitant, who just barely beat Silverdust from finishing last. Not a great pick, as you correctly said. I said, I was trying to figure out what's the best way to play this, thinking if I'm like an amateur bettor or someone who's trying to learn. And you said the best thing to do instead of doing all, single, all, because that's a $71 ticket, is to just do a $71 daily double because it will pay better. Well, the dollar daily double for the favorite, the set piece, going into Maxfield was $3.70. Somelikeithotbrown was just a little higher second choice. So let's just round up and say $4 is the daily double. And a 4-to-1 return there. The pick 4, we scroll down here to the tap-in stakes, $134 on for a 50-cent base. So you're not getting twice your money back on that one. So another tip of the cap to you. You correctly said from a betting perspective, it's better just invest it all in the daily double because it really gets watered down in these pick 4 pools.
Well, and what's crazy is that's not even like the worst case scenario, right? So your $71 daily double times 4 would have paid $284. Your 50-cent pick 4 with a $20 horse in the last leg only pays $141, right? I mean, so that's the key, where you needed a price in the last leg just to be able to get to that 140 as well. So you're leaving a lot up to chance there. Now, if you're going all, and then, like I said, you're shortening out those legs, and that's your lowest level of your ladder ticket, then you can play those type of tickets. But as a standalone ticket, you're never going to get the same value as just betting the daily double in that spot.
Let's go back to Stephen Foster because I have one burning bonus question for you here. Oodolphin now has 3 of the top dirt males in the country. They have Maxfield, they have Mystic Guide, who's returning in the Suburban Stakes this Saturday. That is now a Breeders' Cup winning urine for the Classic, so he's going to expect it to show up there. And also this horse named Essential Quality, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Champion, the Belmont Stakes Champion, looking like he's going to be a complete monster the rest of the summer. He's supposedly targeting the Jim Dandy into the Travers Stakes, so plenty more to see from him as well. Should Oodolphin send all 3 of these dirt male stars, praying they're still healthy, to the Breeders' Cup Classic, or should they maybe try and split them up and find one horse to send to the Dirt Mile?
Man, good luck figuring out which one you should send to the Dirt Mile and telling, it's like, I don't know how you could possibly decide which of the 3 that you would do that with. I think you should run them all in the Classic. I don't think you should take anything for a given. Just because you feel like you have the 3 best horses doesn't mean that you're going to win the race. It's the richest purse in America. I think that you send all 3 to the Classic if you're going to try and take a shot. All 3 of them are already grade 1 winners, so there's not that stallion issue where it's not a grade 1 winner. I'm guessing you're going to have, you already have a Belmont Stakes winner for 1. Maxfield obviously is pretty well accomplished here. You're going to see what I believe is most likely see Happy Saver be able to go, Mystic Guide be able to go and win at Saratoga. He's already won over in Dubai, and in one of the richest races, I think richest races in the world right now. You have the bloodlines already set, so you don't have to worry about breeding. You could make an argument that's why you send one to the mile, but I think that you're going to have, any way you look at this, it's a great position to be in. And imagine, I don't know if you've ever watched, Ferrari versus Ford. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie.
Oh my God, I love that movie. Yes.
Versus Ferrari. In the Le Mans, they finished 1, 2, 3. Imagine a Oodolphin triple in the Classic. Isn't that the coolest thing that could happen if you're Oodolphin, over winning the mile and the Classic? So I would send all 3 and see what you can do.
I love that metaphor or a comparison. That's perfect. Yeah, because I actually did think about that. And the reason I bring this up, there was some Twitter chatter yesterday, people discussing it back and forth about what they should do, and people claiming to know exactly what Oodolphin was going to do, which more power to you if you think you know what Godolphin's thinking. I'm with you. I think they send all 3. Here's one I kept waiting for you to steal my point, and I'm glad you didn't. They don't have the same trainer. 3 different trainers here. So you've got Brad Cox with Essential Quality. You've got Maxfield, Brendan Walsh. Mystic Guides with Mike Stidham. Those 3 guys, they don't give a shit about the other guy. They want to win that Breeders' Cup Classic. They're each in it for themselves. So why the hell would they try and target somewhere else? And as Aaron points out in the chat, none of these really fit the Dirt Mile. I mean, if I was going to pick on one horse's pedigree as being the shorter than the others, I would pick on Maxfield just a tiny bit, just purely based on his pedigree. And he's not fast enough for the Dirt Mile. If the Dirt Mile is a mile and an 8, that's great.
That's the thing. It's that none of these really fit that mile that great. And your trainer argument, I agree with you. Like, but I also disagree in the sense that none of them are going to not listen to Godolphin if Godolphin says you're going to the dirt mile, right? So,
that's true. Jimmy Bell carries a pretty big hammer when he wants to slam something down.
I think they're the client in this case, so they kind of get to choose if they, or probably get final say here, especially when it's an outfit like Godolphin in this spot. So, but I would send all three if I'm Godolphin, and obviously I'm not. I wish I was. It's a pretty good seat to be in right now. They have been just dominating all over the globe this year. But I think it'd be fun to see all three of them in there. And as a bettor and a fan of horse racing, I hope we get all three, because that to me makes it a heck of a lot more interesting than if you have one or two of them and one's running the dirt mile and all that jazz.
Dave Barhista in the chat says, give me your cold trifecta. I was actually going to ask you which one you would take, but I think this is a better question. What's your cold trifecta today on June 28th for the Classic?
Mystic Guide. Life is Good, Essential Quality.
Ooh, interesting. All right. Okay. Life is Good. I didn't see that one coming. I was expecting Hot Rod Charlie. I think I would replace Life is Good with Hot Rod Charlie there. I think Hot Rod Charlie getting second, Essential Quality third, and Mystic Guide, assuming he comes back fine, which we'll find out on Saturday, is the way to go. But it's a really interesting division to talk about. And like I said, we've got these Suburban Stakes coming up this weekend that will give us even more fodder to talk about here moving forward.
And I was between Mandaloon and Life is Good, by the way. Those were the two that I was thinking in my head. Look, I love Hot Rod Charlie. Hot Rod Charlie finishes fourth in that race, right? Just guaranteed fourth place.
I think you can definitely key him, do what Wise Dan likes to do, which is he'll pick him and he'll single him in fourth and then single him in third and then single him second and single him in first and play a bunch of horses around in that ticket. I think that's a guaranteed way to do it, because if he wins, you know he's going to finish top four. If he figures out a way to get lone speed or something like that with Flavien Prat, you don't want to be sitting there with your empty tickets in your hand.
You got to think Life is Good is going to be in the lead, right? If he makes the race, you got to think he's probably going to be the pace. And look, I mean, Life is Good is the best 3-year-old I've seen this year. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of caveats around that statement because we're in a new barn and we're trying but he was a freak for Bob Baffert standards,
which is pretty high standards. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks so much for joining Mike and I to go through the weekend that was at Churchill Downs. This was their last weekend until the fall. They're going to take some time off. I saw that this was the Tepin Stakes, which Navratilova won, the 20-to-1 shot, or the $20 horse that you mentioned. Thanks. Listen, I correctly predicted her, like she was one of my top must-uses, but I did not think she was going to go get to wire, so I'll take it with like a tiny little asterisk on that. But listen, something like a Hot Brown screwed up everything anyways for me. Or I should say Set Piece did. Really screwed me up on that one. But that was the last time they will run on that turf course. That turf course has been there since 1986. You're going to completely tear it up, overhaul it, get us a new turf course for coming back in the fall. So that should be interesting. When Churchill Downs returns, we're going to have to figure out how the hell the new grass course is playing. So tune in September. We'll let you know what's going on then. Mike, coming up this weekend, I talked about Suburban Stakes at Belmont Park. It's a Breeders' Cup winning, you're in. I think for the Magic Mike Show, we got to go back to Belmont Park. I think that's where all the action's going to be, the attention. We've got Happy Saver, we've got Mystic Guide, a bunch of other horses are going to be showing up for the Suburban. Country Grammar is supposedly going to go in his first start for Todd Pletcher. So plenty of big horses just show up there. Lots of fun racing action. Any plans for the July 4th weekend?
Yes, we're doing a staycation. So we're going to stay at a hotel close by that has a very good view of the fireworks. So we're trying to plan this out to make it so that we can see the fireworks, but I'll be on a hotel bar. So we got a table. They're doing restaurants on top of the hotels or the hotel bars. You can reserve them. So we've got an outside table that we're going to sit at so we can then go from the fireworks and then put Lily right down in the hotel and not have to get out of the crazy downtown traffic that is Raleigh on 4th of July. So pretty excited. It's going to be nice. How about you?
I didn't realize Raleigh got all cranked up for Well, dude, Raleigh's a big enough town. I guess I could see that.
The problem is that the downtown is so congested when all those people are there, because we don't have the biggest sporting events, the Hurricanes, but that's like 22,000, and there's a highway right there, and it's not downtown Raleigh. So you have a gridlock downtown. It's absolutely brutal trying to get out. It takes like an hour and a half to get out after fireworks. So we decided to kind of try and do a little cheat codes here and see if we can just be on top of a roof.
Aaron says he's excited because Prairie Meadows has their big weekend coming up. Yeah, and actually, over at racingnews.com, starting tomorrow morning, you'll be able to read a full race preview for the Iowa Derby. Just finished writing this a few minutes before we went live here, so if it pops up on the screen, there it is. I got a Juddmont Farms homebred named Snowhouse that's up and coming. Aaron's excited about that. Here's the problem. I can write all the previews about Prairie Meadows I want. They don't have a PR team, so I can't ever write up, I don't have anything to give you once the race is done. I can tell you about the race coming up. I just can't tell you what's going to happen. I have my parents are coming back in from Oregon, so they're going to get here Friday around a little afternoon, and then they'll be here Friday and Saturday to help out and give us a little bit of assistance with the child, which will be nice. Just kind of take a break.
They're trying to escape those hot temperatures. Is that what I'm hearing?
Dude, yeah. So here's the crazy thing. This is definitely not the best thing I saw, but it was 108 degrees in Eugene, Oregon, where they live, and my family in a group chat. My family's all over the country, where everybody was talking about how hot it was everywhere else, and it was 108 for them. Apparently, my parents, they like to drink wine a lot, especially when it's hot. They thought it would be fun to play strip Scrabble. Like strip poker, but strip Scrabble, because it was just hot enough and they had enough wine. So yeah, didn't know nothing just seeing that text. I was like, oh, okay, and how do I unsubscribe from this group chat? I don't want to get out of here.
It was just words, right? There were no pictures included.
Yeah, but so I'm
Scrabble. That is an interesting one because I would assume Scrabble drunk is not a good thing. And I assume you're not sober when you come up with this idea. So that's a tough combination. I mean, I suck at Scrabble sober. If I had a couple of drinks and I was trying to play Scrabble, it would be, imagine me announcing horse names. Think of me playing Scrabble. I mean, it would be absolutely rough. You know what would be fun though? Oh, we should do this on Breeders' Cup. Scrabble with only horse names. Has to be spelled in the horse name way.
Can we make it, you gotta limit it so it's like graded stakes winners. Or horses who are at the Breeders' Cup.
That is, but Aaron would have such an advantage because he'd be pulling out the Prairie Meadows horses and the.
Well, and who's going to challenge him?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's unfair. Aaron's going to have to be blackout drunk for that. We'll handicap it. You and I will be sober. Aaron will be blackout drunk. That'll about handicap it for us. Yeah, that's a good one to do. I thought you were going to say phonetic. Aaron says okay. I thought you were going to say phonetic Scrabble. You get drunk and just however it sounds, you just kind of you put it out, and if the word sounds correct, you're just yeah, sure, that's probably a word.
I mean, we had some fun playing Scrabble, where you could put any word you want, and you had to challenge it. And if you got the challenge wrong, if it actually is a word, it was double points, and if it wasn't, then you lost the points for what you put out. Ooh. So you're essentially playing you're trying to bluff words. It's a lot of fun. It was a good time.
Oh, God, that sounds like a terrible game to play against a semi-pro poker player. We'll be back here on Thursday at 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific, covering the Belmont Park Late Pick 4 sequence. Is going to include the Suburban Stakes, so that's going to be a fun race and a fun sequence to talk about. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Kellward. He is at Stumble-bunnies 18, number 1, number 8, Corporate Overlords at racing_dudes. Head over to racingnews.com. Got a preview for the Iowa Derby coming out tomorrow. We also have the Suburban on Sunday is the John Nehrude Stakes. That's a Breeders' Cup winner for the sprint. So plenty of action over there. Go check it out. Until Thursday, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Go Montreal.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by racingdudes.com.